It's the Racing Post football postcast. Bruce Millington, James Milton, Mark Langdon and Paddy Powers, Ed Quigley, looking ahead to two live televised Premier League games on Sunday, starting at 1:30 with Huddersfield versus Newcastle. And without further ado, Ed, give us a show of betting.
So Huddersfield are 7-5, the draws 21-10, and Newcastle are 11-5.
Lead on, Ed. What's going to happen here?
Yeah, it's amazing to think that Huddersfield are 7-5 here. Like, I was just looking earlier at the game in the they played each other obviously in the Championship last season in April, and Huddersfield went off like 19-10, and like I suppose Huddersfield have strengthened since then, and Newcastle haven't that much, I guess, strengthened as much as Benitez would have liked anyway in the interim period. They've also got injury concerns over Doma and the French lad whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce because I haven't heard it yet, and they've obviously lost Shelby to that stupid sending off he had last weekend. Yeah, it's a really difficult game to call, I think, given Huddersfield's flying star. I think Wagner could be a genius. Like, he could be a serious manager that they have there, and an Aaron Moy as well. They have a quality player in him too, but at the prices I think I'm going to go for Newcastle draw no bet at 6-5.
James?
Yeah, it's one of those. You kind of got reservations over both sides, but Huddersfield's price and Newcastle, as Ed mentioned, kind of not strengthened really since promotion, and then obviously lost players in that first game against Tottenham. So I'm going to sit on the fence and go for the draw in this one. I mean, Newcastle were pretty effective away from home in the Championship. Won 48 points at home and 46 away. They won 3-1 at Huddersfield in that game Ed was mentioning. And I think Rafa is probably just going to set them up, just to kind of steady the ship a little bit. So I think a point apiece could be the way to go here.
How about you, Lango?
Yeah, I'm Newcastle draw no bet for the reasons I've made the same notes about Newcastle being favourites at Huddersfield not that long ago. And I don't think enough has changed for me to now consider it to be, that much of a flip, really. Yes, Huddersfield started excellently at Crystal Palace, but was that Palace, being really bad in terms of the change in formation, and Huddersfield more settled in knowing what they wanted to actually do and carry out the manager's commands? And I thought Newcastle were going along quite nicely against Tottenham until Shelby's red card.
You've got to call it Shelby's stupid red card. Yeah. I do hope that all the pundits are going to be consistent with this, and that if the big name player that they like gets sent off, that they condemn him as much as they did Shelby. But
his red card changed the whole course of that game. They were pretty comfortable for the first half in that game, and I think that they'll go there with the intention of just nullifying Huddersfield, and that's a different approach for Huddersfield to have to try to overcome. So I think Newcastle draw no bets to value.
Fascinating game this will be, I think, because Huddersfield were really, really good against us. They were excellent. Now then, 4 o'clock, Wembley, Tottenham versus Chelsea. The game of the season so far, and it's only week 2. This should be an absolute cracker. There's going to be fortunes bet on it, Ed. And Paddy Power clients can get what odds on the outcome?
They can get even money on Tottenham. The draw is 5-2, and Chelsea are 13-5.
I haven't seen any prices yet. When you said evens Tottenham, I'm very pro Tottenham. Just kind of, I was like, whoa, that feels short. Let's speak to Mark Langdon. You can go first, Mark.
Yeah, I think it is too short, really. I mean, nobody knows what the Wembley factor will have on Tottenham. I'm quite negative on the move. I know you're quite positive on it, but we don't know. We are guessing. So it's a difficult one to weigh up, but it just feels a bit too short, this game. Chelsea, I'm expecting a reaction to that defeat to Burnley. Like I said, the fact that they were reduced to 10 men so early on did have a big impact on the game. Pedro could be back. I'm expecting them to go with Rudiger, Azpilicueta and Christensen as the back three. Probably Kante and David Luiz in midfield. So that's going to be difficult, I think, for Tottenham to break down. Moses is back as well and Alonso. So they'd have that back 7 in place. I think the draw is the way to go in this one. I think Tottenham would... I'm not saying they'll settle for a point, but it's not a bad start to Wembley. If they can get if they lose against Chelsea, the negativity around there will be horrendous. And I think for Chelsea, it's very important that they don't lose the game after what happened against Burnley. I think this is going to be a tight game, the draw.
James, what's your verdict?
Yeah, I'd echo Mark's views there. I think there is going to be a little bit of a fear factor for both sides, which sounds ridiculous given where they finished in the league last season. But I think it's one of those games so early in the season as well that there's that they're not going to be taking expansive risks particularly. I think you mentioned in a column the other week that people are basing a lot on a kind of very small sample size at Wembley. I mean, not quite sure how relevant it is that Gabriel Batistuta scored a blinder against Arsenal in 1999 there.
My general point, James, was that if you actually look at games involving any sorts of teams at Wembley, the best team seems to me to win as often it does
Yeah,
the bad
yeah.
side. You know, all this stuff about other teams raising themselves at Wembley. Huddersfield and Reading served one of the worst football matches I've seen in decades at Wembley last year. It remains to be seen. It's clearly, you'd have to say it's not a help to
Yeah,
Tottenham, but
yeah.
is it as bad as the kind of odds of 10-1 for the title?
I'm just going to ask Ed, maybe when he does his verdict, like, what price would Tottenham be at White Hart Lane for this game? Be an interesting one to know.
Well, like, to be perfectly honest, they'd probably, I don't know, like, they'd probably be about this price anyway. It's like this price is just short now because on the back of Fabregas's and Cahill's. Do you mean like with Fabregas and Cahill suspended?
Yeah,
like same,
yeah. So
same,
if it's the 11
like,
that's lining up for Chelsea on Sunday, I mean,
like, I guess around, like, 8 to 11, something like that, maybe 4 to 5, kind of in around that kind of price, I would think anyway,
Mark, what's the crowd allocation going to be?
3,000 for each away team going to, I nearly called it White Hart Lane there, going to Wembley.
3,000?
Yeah, they're being very tight on they don't want it becoming some sort of big day out for the other team's fans. So
and how many Tottenham fans?
Well, in theory, there's about 87,000. I mean, I think they're going to struggle to sell that out every game. Some of them fans, they've had to give some to Brent Council, some as a sweetener for using the stadium. But effectively, there's 87,000 home fans there. The Chelsea game that hadn't sold out last time.
You going?
I am going. Yeah.
Excellent. Taking Frankie?
No, it's not. No. It's not one for. No. It'd be an early meet, and hopefully sink a few pints, and hopefully
he's got
win.
school the next day, hasn't he? Kebab at 2 a.m. It's no good for him, is it? Who haven't we had? We haven't had Ed yet. What's going to happen here, Ed?
So just as you mentioned there, like, the price has collapsed. I mean, this price a week ago was 13 to 8. It's now even money. Like, like on the back of obviously Cahill and Fabregas are both suspended. I suppose Cahill's a bigger loss there than Fabregas, obviously. And then you've got like, obviously Chelsea losing to Burnley would have contributed towards it as well. Yeah, it's just hard to know what way Chelsea will line up given the suspensions and the injuries that they have, and the fact that their squad is so thin at the minute. I mean, is there a possibility he could go with Batshuayi and Morata up top? I don't know, possibly, I guess. But given the horses bolted on the Tottenham price, I definitely think the value lies with Chelsea. So I'd echo what you all say there. Yeah, so you can get your own bet there at 13 to 8 on Chelsea.
Mark, I didn't actually get a tip for you.
I'm going the draw.
You're going the draw. So you two are going for the draw, and Ed, you're going for Chelsea on the DMB. Yeah.
Yeah.
All done on that? Okay, let's do the Monday night game next.